Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to Canal Algeria's nightly news. On to the headlines. An Algerian hashtag urging the President of the Republic not to go to Iraq is going viral, denoting the people's attachment to the head of state. The seminar of the Algerian EU Sustainable Investment winds up with a particular focus on the necessity to establish a solid partnership between Algeria and the European partners. And in France, Bruno, the heart of a scandal involving him and the far-right party in corruption. Welcome back. We begin our news with a viral hashtag taken over social media by storm. Taboon, don't go to Iraq. It's trending across platforms and reflects a heartfelt plea from many Algerians urging the president to skip the upcoming Arab League summit in Baghdad, a sign of the strong bond between Algerian people and their leader. Min al-Maafa.
In a rare moment in the country's political history, the Algerian people made their voices heard directly and without formalities through a simple hashtag that quickly went viral. With it, they sent a clear message to their president not to travel to Iraq for the upcoming Arab summit. This wasn't a diplomatic rejection nor a distancing from a brotherly nation. Instead, it was a message rooted in caution, driven by a genuine and heartfelt concern for the safety and well-being of the President of the Republic. More than just a hashtag, it was a declaration, a voice from the people, meant to echo all the way to the top, not to protest or reject, but to unite and protect.
الجزائري فريمون راه يحب الرئيس تاعو، هذه حاجه ايجابيه.
نقول لك 45 مليون جزائري راه يقول لك اقعد معنا في الجزائر، محتاجينك ونحتاجوك.
ان شاء الله تسمع منا هذا الميساج وتقبل منا هذه النصيحه كشعب.
Algerians are actively participating in the national discourse. Citizens have become key players, driven by a deep concern for the country's higher interests and the preservation of its symbols of national unity.
من فضلك سيد الرئيس اسمع للشعب الجزائري أني قلت لك هو شعب يحبك فعلا.
ولدي ما تغداش لبغيت الربح. يا دبون في كبانا وفي خونا وفي وليداتنا ما تغداش إلا بغيت الربح.
Far from casting doubt on the strong ties with Iraq, a nation that holds a special place in the hearts of all Algerians, this grassroots message reflects a rising collective political awareness. It sees the president not merely as a leader, but as a cornerstone of the state and a guarantor of stability in the region, facing complex threats and challenges. This movement of solidarity on social media is, above all, a reflection of the growing trust in a president who has consistently prioritized the nation's interests, whether in response to the internal challenges or external pressures. That trust is reinforced by a clear and consistent approach, decisive actions, and a genuine closeness to the concerns of the people. At a time when many leaders are seeing their credibility weakened by scandals, public mistrust, or detachment, the relationship between the Algerian people and their president stands as a rare example, strong, steady, and built on mutual confidence.
كان ما كان بيتبون تحية زين
On to the government meeting chaired by the Premier Nadir Al-Arbawi, devoted to the follow-up of the implementation of the President of the Republic's instructions of the Council of Ministers held on April 20th regarding the activation of the one-stop investment window and the strengthening of its prerogatives regarding major projects and foreign investments, as well as the decentralized one-stop windows under the Algerian Investment Promotion Agency. The government also began reviewing a preliminary bill updating the National Land Use Plan for 2030 and studied the preliminary bill relating to veterinary activities and the protection of animal health as part of monitoring the implementation of the National Digitization Plan. The government produced a progress report on the advancement for services under the Ministry of Finance relating to estates, taxes, and custom departments. Similarly, the government listened to a presentation on the efforts made to combat the recent violence observed in certain stadiums, calling on all parties concerned to demonstrate responsibility, reject hatred speech in sports media, and to promote culture of competitive sports based on high ethical and moral values. Tasked by the President of the Republic, the Minister of State of Foreign Affairs, the National Community Abroad and African Affairs Ahmed Attaf arrived today in Helsinki in an official visit to the Republic of Finland. This visit is in the framework of the joint efforts to promote political dialogue between the two countries and to give a new momentum to bilateral cooperation, notably in economic fields. While in Helsinki, the Minister of State will hold a working session with the Foreign Minister of Finland, Elina Valtonen. Attaf is also to be received by the high authorities of this friendly country. Earlier, Attaf had a face-to-face meeting in Stockholm with the Swedish Minister of Foreign Affairs before holding a working meeting extended to members of the delegations of both countries. This meeting provided an opportunity to conduct a comprehensive assessment of the various dimensions of the historical relations uniting the two countries ahead of celebrating the tercentenary anniversary of the first Algerian-Swedish treaty, concluded in 1729 between the two countries. The two ministers agreed to work to upgrade economic partnership between the two countries to the level of privileged political relations uniting them. Discussing current international and regional issues of common interest, the two ministers exchanged views on developments in the situation in the Middle East and the Saharawi region, in addition to the Russian-Ukrainian war, and reaffirmed the convergence of the two countries' positions based on the principles enshrined in the United Nations Charter, emphasizing the two countries' continued efforts to promote peaceful solutions to crises, conflicts, and wars that threaten international peace and security. The Minister of State of Foreign Affairs, the National Community Abroad and African Affairs Ahmed Attaf also held talks with the CEO of the International Council of Swedish Industry. The meeting was an occasion to evoke the perspectives of reinforcing economic cooperation between Algiers and Stockholm and the priority fields for both countries in light of the integral advantages enjoyed by both parties, in addition to the improvement of the investment environment in Algeria in the last few years. Sofiane Shaib, the Secretary of State to the Minister of Foreign Affairs for the National Community Abroad, led the Algerian delegation participating in the 163rd Ordinary Session of the Council of the Arab League at the level of foreign ministers, held at the headquarters of the League's General Secretariat under the chairmanship of the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan. The meeting focused on reviewing the latest developments regarding Arab issues, particularly the Palestinian cause, as well as the situation in Syria, Sudan, Lebanon, and Somalia, and on Arab cooperation with regional and international partners. This meeting was also an opportunity to reaffirm Algeria's steadfast commitment to the rights of the Palestinian people. Algeria called for an end to the aggression, the delivery of humanitarian aid, and contribution to the reconstruction of areas destroyed by the Zionist entity. It also reiterated its support for efforts aimed at achieving full Palestinian membership in the UN and the establishment of an independent Palestinian state within the 1967 borders with Al-Quds as its capital. Algeria also emphasized its commitment to strengthening joint Arab action and enriching the principle of solidarity to address regional challenges. In addition, the Arab League Council commended Algeria's continued efforts as a non-permanent Arab member of the Security Council to support the Palestinian cause. It also congratulated Algeria on the Security Council's adoption of its guiding principles on financing terrorism, as well as its successful chairmanship of the negotiation process that led to the adoption of comprehensive international convention on combating the use of information and communications technologies for criminal purposes. On the sidelines of this ministerial session, the Secretary of State took part in the meeting of Arab Ministerial Committee concerned with Al-Quds. Algeria and the European Union are strengthening their partnership through strategic investment grounded in equal opportunity. Ongoing reforms in Algeria aim to attract European capital and boost the country's integration into global value chains. More details with both Mariam Damis and Bilis Alila Balaman.
Focusing on the challenges of enhancing bilateral partnership between Algeria and the European Union at the heart of a renewed vision, one driven by the ambition to forge strategic partnerships grounded in equal opportunities. This vision has taken shape through the Euro-Algerian Partnership for Sustainable Investment, marking a significant step forward, positioning Algeria as a favored destination for investment. Now we want to focus on these very important potentials to advance the mechanism of rapprochement and the integration between Algeria and the European Union from an economic and commercial perspective. All the stakeholders involved in Algeria's investment environment are mobilized to support any businesses wishing to invest there. This is also part of an ambitious financial cooperation program with the European Union. It has been concluded that 53 European companies have expressed their intention to invest in Algeria. This is why we have requested support to help turn this intention into actual investment. Positive results have been recorded, including several meetings between Algerian and European experts, as well as discussions on the current state of European investment prospects in Algeria. The reforms and measures implemented by the Algerian government in recent years within the investment sector have opened new avenues and created promise and prospects for attracting European investment. These may take the form of direct and indirect foreign investments or strategic collaborations with local investors. Additionally, these efforts have facilitated access for Algerian products to European markets.
Algeria is ready. A lot of very positive steps have already been taken, including the adoption of the new investment law. Many things are changing positively in Algeria, and we're very pleased with this. That's why our Director General, Mr. Sanino, is here to give a new boost to economic cooperation, but also in other areas between Algeria and Europe. A lot has been done, but we can still do a lot more together.
Entre l'Algérie et l'Europe. Donc il y a beaucoup de choses qui ont été faites, mais on peut encore faire beaucoup de choses ensemble.
As part of this project, we have visited more than 14 European countries where we met with business leaders who expressed their intention to invest in Algeria.
Fostering tangible investments, generating added value, and deepening integration into regional and global value chains are shared objectives of both Algeria and the European Union. These goals will require the establishment of effective results-driven partnerships between the two sides.
Coming up shortly. In Western Sahara, the Gdimezig detainees are observing a hunger strike to denounce the violation of their rights and call for their release. Welcome back. In France, a Mediapart investigation reveals that Bruno Retailleau is backed by farright billionaires now set to influence government policy. Among them is Vincent Bolloré, a key ally of the Interior Minister, previously linked to multiple corruption scandals. Here's Manal Mafou.
Bruno Retailleau's rise is stirring concern in France. Once a close ally of far-right figure Philippe de Villiers is now backed by a wealthy Parisian elite with extremist leanings and aligns closely with Éric Zemmour's rhetoric. He also shows clear loyalty to controversial figures like media mogul Vincent Bolloré and businessman Pierre-Edouard Sterrin. A Mediapart investigation suggests his ascent stems from an unspoken pact involving a propaganda-driven media outlet, a well-placed financier, and a politically inexperienced figure, Retailleau himself, portrayed as a tool of powerful shadow network.
What a scandal. Over 500 million euros spared for billionaire Vincent Bolloré, who dodged a 640 million euro tax penalty, reduced to zero by a ministerial decision. Yet Mr. Retailleau stays silent, never denouncing the excuse culture when it benefits billionaires.
Ministériel a ramené la pénalité à 0 €, 0 centimes. Quand il s'agit d'un passe-droit fiscal à M. Bolloré, on n'entend pas M. Retailleau dénoncer la culture de l'excuse des milliardaires.
Bruno Retailleau is now trying to lead Les Républicains and eyeing the presidency, enjoys strong backing from Vincent Bolloré and Pierre-Edouard Sterrin. Their support fuels a strategy driven by a radical interest at the cost of French-Algerian relations. Sources suggest deliberate moves to block diplomatic progress, making Retailleau the face of a politics where ideology outweighs the national interest.
The Gdimezig trial in Rabat has been condemned as arbitrary and unjust. Legal expert Ingrid Meton calls in a case of arbitrary detention with no alternatives. Saharawi activists resort to hunger strikes, a common protest against rights abusers in Moroccan prisons. Manal Maafa and Walid Yousfi explain.
The Saharawi activist Hassan Ada has launched a hunger strike to protest the ongoing abuse in prison, including insults, beatings and torture. A member of the Gdimezig group, he was jailed after the 2010 crackdown on a peaceful protest camp and sentenced in a trial widely condemned for relying on torture-tainted confessions and lacking due process.
En tant qu'avocate du groupe de musique, je peux affirmer qu'ils ont tous été condamnés sans aucune preuve. En droit pénal, que ce soit en France, au Maroc ou ailleurs, pour condamner des personnes, notamment pour les crimes les plus graves et à des peines très lourdes, il faut des preuves et il faut prouver que les personnes ont eu l'intention de commettre les faits. Là, durant le procès devant la cour d'appel de Rabat qui a duré 6 mois, j'ai pu constater, mais dès le premier jour, qu'il n'y avait aucune preuve. Il n'y avait pas les armes, il n'y avait pas le bon nombre de soi-disant victimes, et il y avait des prétendus aveux qui ont été obtenus sous la torture, comme l'a reconnu le comité contre la torture.
In busy southern France, a peaceful protest in support of the Saharawi prisoners escalated. 2 journalists covering the event were targeted by hostile individuals.
Nous avons été très bien accueillis partout. Nous venons de faire une manifestation, enfin un rassemblement, et où les Marocains avaient un autre lieu de manifestation, les Franco-Marocains, mais ils sont quand même venus nous agresser.
In face of repression and silence, the determination of the Sahrawi people remains unshaken. Their struggle for freedom and their right to self-determination continues.
Amid regional rising tensions, Spain is stepping up coastal surveillance in response to growing security concerns tied to Morocco. From border breaches to internal instability and controversial arms shipments, the evolving situation has sparked alarm in Madrid and widespread protests across Morocco. Melissa Lila Balaman with the full story.
Madrid has increased surveillance along its coastline amid security concerns linked to Morocco. The Spanish defense staff has set up a secret unit to assess potential threats from Morocco amid ongoing tensions, including migrant attempts to enter Ceuta and the Pegasus spyware scandal. Spain's worries now extend beyond borders and espionage, focusing on Morocco's internal instability, with rising disorder and a growing drug crisis, as the Makhzen strategy appears to destabilize both the population and the region. Kill us. Dying is better than staying like this, drugged and trapped in crime and drug trafficking. Meanwhile, the Makhzen is accelerating its normalization process with no regard for public sentiment. This week, Moroccan ports received Zionist ships loaded with weapons bound for Gaza. These protests show the Moroccan people's clear rejection of these ships and condemn the silence of the authorities, which signals complicity in these crimes. In response, leading labor unions have urged Moroccan dock workers to refuse handling any cargo ships from transporting weapons to the Zionist entity.
Gaza endures daily destruction and suffering. With relentless bombings and blocked aid, the international community's silence amplifies the despair as the Zionist entity targets vital resources and seeks to empty the region of its people. Melissa Lila Balaman again.
These scenes of desolation and destruction are the daily reality for the Gaza inhabitants. Not a single day passes without bombs raining down, sparing nothing and no one. Desperate, the population no longer knows where to turn, especially as the complicit silence of the international community erases the little hope they cling to. Under these ruins, there are only women and children. They were bombed late last night. The Zionist entity continues its relentless campaign of death in Gaza, targeting anything that could allow life to return. This includes construction machinery, which will no longer help clear the rubble or rebuild the Palestinian enclave. The crossings have been closed for over 35 days. There are no electricity generators or desalination stations to treat water. With the closure of the crossings, aid can no longer reach the starving population, while the Zionist entity presses forward with its goal to conquer Gaza after displacing its residents.
That's the end of the international window. On to the operational report of the People's National Army's activity in the past week. In the context of the fight against terrorism, units of the PNA seized 2 rocket launchers type RPG-7 and 4 Kalashnikov submachine guns. At the level of the 6th Military Region, while other detachments of the PNA arrested 12 support elements to terrorist groups in different operations across the national territory. In the framework of the fight against organized crime and the continuation of the tireless efforts aimed at countering the scourge of drug trafficking in our country, combined detachments of the PNA intercepted, in coordination with the different security services in operations across the military regions, 38 drug traffickers and averted attempts to introduce 9 quintals 157 kilograms of processed key through the borders with Morocco, while over 310,500 psychotropic tablets were seized. In Tamaras, Borjwaji Mukhtar and Insalah, detachments of the People's National Army, arrested 254 individuals and seized 33 vehicles, over 140 generators, 102 jackhammers, 7 metal detectors, as well as quantities of mixture of raw gold and stones, explosives, detonation tools, and other equipment used in illegal gold mining operations. Now, on the other hand, 13 other individuals were arrested, 3 automatic pistols, 17 hunting rifles, and over 22,830 liters of fuel were seized during separate operations across the national territory. Similarly, 2,035 illegal immigrants of different nationalities were arrested across the national territory. End of our bulletin. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.